Next up with us is senior quarterback Griffin Lauritano from Evergreen. Plays for the Cougars, and he's so happy to be doing that. Matter of fact, Griffin, it's been 11 months since you played a football game for EHS. Now that you've done that recently, what's going through you emotionally right now, even after, a few days after the game?
I just have to say how happy I am to just be playing football again. It's obviously the sport that I love, and I've been through a little bit of a roller coaster recently, and finally just be able to be back on the field and remember what it feels like to celebrate with my friends after a touchdown or get on the field and take a big hit and get up, and just all the emotions running through that come with a football game, and then especially coming with a win. It's just remembering all those emotions and how it feels to just be a football player again.
You're coming off a 46-8 victory over Thompson Valley on the road up in Loveland. Griffin Lauritano, Evergreen quarterback, and you hinted at it, and we'll get away from the litigation stuff, but let's talk about you personally and your experiences from your student-athlete perspective. You went to Georgia during the pandemic, did that as a strategy to be able to play football, but you just moved back because the window opened back up for you to play here in Colorado. After you had your experience in Georgia, what did you learn coming back here that you can use?
I kind of just learned a lot to be more fundamentally sound, because out there, a lot of those guys were a lot bigger and faster. So I couldn't get away with a lot of things that I could get away with here. So just being more technically sound, better with my footwork, better with timing, being more accurate, like all the little details that matter here, just not as much as would in Georgia, is all the things that now I'm perfecting as I get back here, just being more defined in everything that I do.
I like how your family called it the Southeastern boot camp for just a little bit there as you went on sabbatical. Any of that stuff that you learned out there you can share with, your fellow players now with Evergreen?
Yeah, I think just the attitude of how they treat football down there, it's the South. It's definitely, they live and die by football down there. So just coming back here and like getting everyone to work as hard as they do down there up here, because that work ethic, if it works in 7A Georgia, it's going to work in Colorado too. So just bringing that attitude back to practice. We need to practice hard. We need to condition hard. We need to lift hard. All of those things that they do that they did in Georgia, I'm bringing back to Colorado.
Now, my understanding is once the opportunity opened up again to possibly play here in Colorado, there was no flinch by your head coach, Matt Van Prague, and certainly no pushback from your fellow players. How important is that to you, and what does it say to you that they just were absolutely welcoming?
There was definitely a little period of time where I had to earn those guys' respect back, but that was as expected. But I think this is my home. This is where I've lived here my entire life. So, and I've grown up with all these guys. So that for them to be willing to take me back and take me back with open arms and just get back to playing football and just how it was like when we were in second grade. So I think it talks to how tight we are in this community and how tight we are just as a real family at Evergreen.
And let's qualify this too, that, you are going to have to take some consequences, right? You're coming back, you get to play football, you get to play basketball here in Colorado. You do not get to participate in the playoffs. So there's something you have to concede for your right to be able to play back here, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So when you did get your first game in, you had to sit out the first game, and that was a loss against the very powerful Palisade football program. But just recently got that big win. Nice start, Griffin. 11 passes, 17 attempts, 179 yards, 4 touchdown passes. Also ran for 82 yards, got another touchdown. So 5 TDs for your opener. That's not bad. So how do you feel that kind of justified or validated your choice to come back here and play in Colorado?
I think it was just as we said earlier, I haven't played a football game in a long time. So it's a lot of built up just anticipation and a lot of work that I've put in. And I think being in Georgia and all that experience and how hard I worked leading up to what I thought was going to be a season in Colorado originally, finally I got to show it off. I got to show everything, how hard I worked this off season to get to this point.
As a football player, I know you've had discussions. There's some attention coming your way. Can you give us a perspective on what conferences, schools, however you want to share that, so we get a read on how you're being evaluated and what your opportunities may be in the future.
So I have been in contact with 2 or 3 Power 5 schools, and then I've also been in contact with a handful of Division I FCS schools. So those are the opportunities that I've had so far.
So we're talking what you would normally call D1 level, FBS or FCS, and
yes,
and that's for real. And of course, you're a hooper too, so you've got those chances coming up too. So in the end, you're 1-1 now as an Evergreen football team. This is obviously a pandemic-affected season. Pretty good start and nice rebound getting that win over TVHS. Now that you're with your guys and you're fully engaged and activated with the team, what are your plans? What are your expectations with the Cougars?
I think, looking at the Palisade game, I don't really think it does us justice. But then looking at the Thompson Valley game, I think we are a very good football team. I think we're a team, when we get everyone back and everyone's on the field, we're one of the best teams in 3A. And I think we're going to show that to a lot of people as we continue forward with all the people on the field that we have. And I know a lot of people at Evergreen, we've never won a state championship. So I think as a senior class, that's the pandemic season or not, that's our goal, obviously. So I think looking forward, we're going to try to run the table and make the playoffs, because I think we're going to prove to a lot of people that we are a good football team.
There you go, with a D1 prospect at the QB position, Griffin Lauritano. We'll keep an eye on those inspired and salty Cougars from Evergreen as the season progresses. Great to meet you, okay?
Great to meet you. Thank you.
We're here for the ones with big hearts, the ones with big calluses, the ones who go the distance, the ones holding down the fort, the weekend warriors, the crafty ones, these crafty ones too, and the ones just being themselves. Here's to the ones who define the Colorado spirit. We're proud to be the community bank that helps them live that way, because we're not just a bank in Colorado. We're Bank of Colorado. There's only one.
Next up to the Western Slope, Colton Brugerman, who is a senior tackle with the Montrose Indians, coming off a wild victory, a 28-27 victory over Fruita up at Stoker Stadium in Grand Junction. Colton, what kind of game was that, and what kind of emotions do you get out of a victory over that team on that night?
It was something else. It was really enjoyable. At halftime, we were trailing 14-zip, and it was like we got into halftime, and Coach talked to us, and it was like, we need to fix something here, and we got everything done on the whiteboard and went out there and we just executed, put 14 points on the board, didn't let them score again, and took it into overtime. And that was pretty fun. It's been a long time since we've been in overtime, and we went into double overtime. We both scored in the first overtime, and when we went into the second one, they went for a 2-point, and it all came down to that play, and we got lucky and stopped the 2-point conversion. It was a really nice win to get under our belt.
To get that win up at Stoker Stadium, how would you describe that to folks who aren't quite sure of what that atmosphere is like?
It's kind of when it comes down to it, it's kind of like the state championship of the Western Slope kind of. Every year we get to play Fruita, so we know what we run. We all want to run the ball at each other, and it just comes down to a battle of who the tougher team is, and it's a good feeling when you come away with a win in those.
It looked great on the screens. I was tracking a little bit from far away. Now, you mentioned the run game. That's part of why we have to have a visit with you. Your success so far this year and over the past, 3 years, because you are a 3-year starter, it's amazing. Let's just focus on what's happened in 2020. You're 2 games in, of course, just a short time right now, but you opened with 567 rushing yards. And then Coach Mertens will say, we slacked off a little bit, just 256 last week. But That's a total of 823 in 2 games at over 400 per clip. Why are you guys so good in the run game?
Montrose just has a history of running the ball down people's throats and just being a nasty team, and it's always been our mentality. Even growing up from youth football, that's just what we've always done, and that's just what we take pride in. So before anything else, we make sure that we run the ball good.
Yeah, you can tell how you talk about it. A little puffy about what your brand identity is. Now, you and the guy on the other flank, Kyler Bronick.
Yeah.
Where do you guys fit as the starting tackles with some veteran leadership in this strong run game?
So we actually have 2 sophomores this year that are starting at guards and a junior at center, and none of them have ever played varsity football before. So it was kind of a year that we needed to pick up the team and lead this O-line, and so far it's been pretty good. They're playing really well, and I think we have pretty good leadership on the O-line this year.
And you're much more than just a tackle. As we talked to Colten Brueggeman, a 3-year starter for Montrose on the Western Slope. You think of all the things you do. Let's start with, what you do up in the hills. You hunt, you fish. How does that translate into why it makes you just a better student athlete?
It's really nice to kind of use that as a break from all the crazy stuff that's always going on with football and academics, and just being able to take a break from it and be able to go do something in the mountains for a day and clear your head before you get to come back and get ready to hit again.
I would think access to the Gunny River isn't a bad thing, right?
Oh, no, it is definitely not.
Right. Now, also, when we talk about sports, I notice you play goal in lacrosse. You still doing that?
Yeah, I am. So I guess we didn't get to play this last season. I'm a 4-year starter, though, for Montrose, and I would have been a 4-time all-conference player if we got to play last year. So,
are you going to try to play in the scheduled spring?
Yeah. I'm planning on it. Yep.
Okay, and we're splitting classifications to where you'll be a 4A squad. Maybe some opportunities there, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, we'll have to keep an eye on you in goal playing the lax. Back to the football. That is a focus for you. You might have some opportunities in the future when you graduate from your high school career. Can you give us a perspective on, who's reaching to you, where you think you might have fits, where you're interested?
So I have, just like every other football player, I have interest in bigger schools. I have talked to a lot of smaller Division III and Division II schools, but right now my eyes are kind of set more D1, and if not, we're going to try to walk on, and we'll just see how that goes. That's the plan right now.
It's funny. The internet will tell you some things, but who knows if it's true or not. Let me ask you.
Yeah.
So physical stats. How tall are you?
I'm 6'4".
6'4". How much do you weigh?
245.
Okay, 245, 2 weeks in, and we know that there's $1 million facilities that can add weight onto that 6'4" frame. Okay, I just wanted to ask. Okay, I wanted to ask that. And then something we learned to nuance that in is when Colton mentions that some D3 schools have reached to him, they don't do that unless he's got that academic component. So that's something else that we're learning about Colten Brugerman. Coming up here, you've got a game against Junction, and then you're going to run into a gauntlet on the road against Palmer Ridge and Ponderosa. Where are your guys' mindset right now where you've got those 3 games ahead of you?
We're just trying to keep our eyes on 1 week at a time. We just try to go 1-0 every week. So right now our eyes are just set on Junction, but it definitely is in the back of the mind the next 2 tough games that we have after that. But yeah, right now we're just trying to keep our eyes on Junction, and because we don't want to lose a game that we hopefully should win. So
yeah, any of those 5 or 6 teams out there, overlook them and they'll give you an L, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And then the Palmer Ridge Ponderosa road trips, well, they won't be as significant, right?
Yeah.
It's excellent meeting you, and thank you so much, Colton.
Thank you. It was nice talking to you.
You're proud to call Colorado home. So are we. Since 1973, we've been giving back to the communities where we live, work, and play across our great state. And we're here to stay. If you're looking for an independent, locally managed community bank where the employees are also the owners, we would like to be your bank. We're Alpine Bank.